What's going on, guys? Boy Maximum RPM coming at you with another video today. In this video, we're going to be putting a new servo in the scx24 base camp. So last time I tried installing a Purple Viper, and I had two Injora Purple Vipers fail on me. And for whatever reason, it seemed to have killed our servo. So I've got an Injora servo with a brass plate and horn, and we're going to install that on the truck. And we'll do a little bit of a test compared to my dad's scx24, which is completely stock. And then we're going to install a 14% overdrive. Links to both of these will be in the video description down below. Show off the rest of the truck real quick. Pretty much everything on this is Injora minus the brass diff covers. They're just some random off-brand. So we've got brass diff covers, wheel extenders, wheels and tires. I love the Krakens. We've got the side plates, which I could potentially weight, but I'm pretty happy with the weight of this truck so far. High clearance 4-link all round, brass steering links up front, and brass knuckles. So this is a very heavy truck, and in fact, I think we're going to weigh mine versus Dad's after this video and see what the weight difference is. Either way, let's get this installed first so we can get it turning again. Alright, so we got the new Emax servo in on the brass plate. This is the ES08MA2. Yeah, it seems like a decent little servo. And definitely a big upgrade as far as power goes, because if I hold my front wheels, it slides the entire back of the truck. So, very good. One issue that I was having is, for whatever reason, I could not get this servo horn to line up perfectly straight, and when I trim it, I lose a lot of steering angle on one side, so I had to turn my endpoints up really high to get the same amount of steering on both sides, and unfortunately it's hitting the bump stop on one side, so it's not a perfect setup, but I've been fiddling around with it for like an hour or so, and I can't quite get it to line up right. Also, we're going to install these yellow silicones first before we install the overdrive, because I really want to show off the tire flex separate from the overdrive. If I put the overdrive on first, it'll be hard to, I mean, you'll still see it, but I want to show just how much the silicones do. And I gotta say, I really like how these tires feel. They have decent sidewall, decent compression, a good feel to them. But these are ridiculously soft, and also they'll have better sidewall support, and they won't soak in water. So let's do our turning test first. Let's get these in now, and we'll do a comparison between the stock tires, the stock foams, I'll get there eventually, the stock foams and the silicones, and then we will do the overdrive test for both our turning circle and its ability to slow crawl and get over obstacles. Alright, let's see how we do with our one-handed driving here. So we can see that there's not a... We're definitely getting flex. But it's not a whole lot. Boy, I drove with that Purple Viper one time and I got used to that torque. And slow speed control. Let's line ourselves up here. There we go. Now we just need to not tip them over in the process. Like that. Here's where it could be a little tricky. Yeah, see right there, if we could just get a little more ripple out of it. We were able to do it with power. Our turning's really not the greatest. Especially to the left. I think I can turn better to the right than I can the left. Alright. No, I can turn better left than I can right. Alright, so there we go. There's kind of a baseline run of the course. So, the silicone installation should be fairly straightforward. Now, ideally, you would do this when you first get your wheels and tires. You buy your wheels, your tires, and your silicones all together. I've had these mounted up for about a year now. So we're going to hope that it's not seized into the aluminum. So our silicone is just a tiny bit bigger, but that's not a huge deal. Sidewall support is very good, but this thing is super squishy. Yeah, it's easier to squish than styrofoam, and that ought to tell you something right there. So the way that I find best to do this is to pinch it, and then kind of like fold it in half. Now our width is pretty wide. And then, this is actually easier to do on 10th scale, just because they're a little easier to handle. There you go, and you have it in. You just kind of massage it around in there and get it unfurled. There we go, and it's it's a little frumpy in there. That's a word that I've liked using recently. So I'm going to try to really unfold that. And you may have to trim these silicones to fit. I probably should. I'm not going to. The inside of those have held up fantastic. Yeah. Yep, it's not all wiggly, it's fine. So this is our left front. So this is our face of the wheel. We'll slide that back into place. Take our backer plate. There we go. Actually, this was a little bit easier when I actually let the wheel relax. So we're going to put one there, and we're going to put one directly across from it. You don't want to go in a circle, because then it could pinch unevenly. So you go across. This is just like how you would tighten the wheel nuts on your car. Alright, and we got all four of them mounted up. Let's see how it does now. Oh yeah. You can see it flexing way more. Not only does it, so it lets the actual tire flex more, which lets the treads flex more. And let's see if it's actually got enough grip now. Look at that. Before, we couldn't get up there without going full throttle. All full left. We are now parallel. Pretty much right on, what was that, 35 1/4? Yeah. So we got 35 1/4. Marked at 35 1/4. Now let's get this front end torn apart and the overdrive in. Alright, so I got the overdrive installed, and I didn't realize there's a little O-ring that comes on that, and I don't know where it got off to, but my factory one dry rotted and broke. Luckily, Injora sends you a bunch of spares. So we got the new one in there. Tightened up the slop. Let's see how this overdrive does. Alright, so we got, for one rotation here, we got about 1.5 and 1.25. A little over 1.5. Yeah. Alright, let's test out its turning angle and see how it does. Wow. About half a truck. $32.25. Cut off 3 inches of its turning circle. That's wicked. Have it, guys. Pretty good little upgrade to the base camp today. Stick to the end because I will show the weight difference between this and essentially a stock base or scx24. Dad's only has brass diff covers on it. But I'll show you the weight difference in these trucks. And yeah, that's gonna be about it. So the overdrive, huge help. And I've heard you don't, when it comes to tenth scales, you're not gonna want to run anything on a trail that has more than like a 14%. This is just what I've heard. If you guys have different experience, please let me know. Because that's where you'll actually start to have like binding and cogging issues, and you'll actually start seeing some tire wear. For something like this, I'm not too worried about it. If it were my 10th scale, maybe a little bit different. I've got I think I have either a 15 or an 18% in one of my Gen 7s. But I don't plan on using that one on the trail too much. But either way, overdrive, really, really good, because that's going to give you two things. It's going to give you a better climb, and it's going to give you a better turning circle. The servo, more torque is always helpful. And I really can feel a difference, because before, sometimes you'd go to turn in, and it wouldn't have the power to get over the obstacle. With this new servo, it's got all it needs. And, I mean, the silicones, they make the tires so much better. For this entire build so far, if I had to recommend two upgrades from stock, I'm going to have to say, and I'm going to count wheels and tires as one upgrade. Wheels, tires, and an overdrive. That's all you really need for one of these. And that's only if you're really serious about it. If you just want something to play around with in the backyard, leave it alone. But once again, it'd be, the wheels and tires, and then maybe the 4-link, just because you don't get hung up as much. I don't know. I guess one of these days I'd have to really sit down and think about it. Who knows? Maybe there'll be a video there. So, hope you guys enjoyed. Link to all three in the video description down below. Now let's see the weight difference. In grams, 227.3. 416, just a little under double. That is insane. Like, comment, subscribe, live life to the max, and stay awesome.